Hello everyone, a good Erev Yontiv and a good Kvittel. I think it goes without saying that we're about to go into one of the hardest days since the beginning of the war. On the one hand, it's Shmini Atzeret. In Israel, it's also Simchas Torah. It's a holiday in which we're obligated in happiness and so many other things that should bring us joy. But on the other hand, this is the day that it all started. This is the day that over 1,300 Jews were butchered. This was the day that literally a pogrom happened for a few hours during that terrible October 7th, 2023. So how are we supposed to do both? Be sensitive to what happened and what is still happening, and on the other hand, celebrate Shmini Atzeret. I believe everyone has to practically decide, both individually and communally, what to do in order to be sensitive to both, and not to prefer one over the other. But I'd like to give just one foundational idea that, in my opinion, could be the foundation for practical solutions in this regard. There's a halacha that we have to fulfill today and tomorrow. It actually gets its own chapter in the Code of Jewish Law, Siman Tov Reish Samech Vav 666, and that is the following. Even though you finished using your sukkah today, you ate breakfast, you ate lunch, you took your nap, you don't need the sukkah anymore for all practical purposes. You cannot take it apart today. You have to leave it up till the end of the 7th day of Sukkot, until the holiday ends. On the other hand, tonight, at least in Israel, you have to eat at home. So throughout Shmini Atzeret, we look at the sukkah, it's out there, but on the other hand, we eat at home. I believe this halacha teaches us something very fundamental. On the one hand, there are many temporary things like the sukkah, a temporary dwelling, that are still on the agenda. There are hostages that haven't been home in over a year. There are soldiers fighting wars, both up north, down south, not to mention the war of terror within Israel. And there are many wounded that are far from rehabilitation and a comprehensive recovery. Those are the temporary aspects of our life, like the sukkah. But on the other hand, there's one permanent aspect of it all, and that is the Jewish home in Israel. The Jewish home in which we're commanded to eat and to sleep on Shmini Atzeret or outside of Israel, Simchas Torah, is one that's permanent and it's not going anywhere. So indeed, we have to look at the sukkah and remember all those temporary needs, but we have to remember one permanent thing, and that is that the Jewish home is not going anywhere. It is permanent and it is there to stay. In my humble opinion, that's exactly the feeling that should escort us in any practical solution we find in order to properly be sensitive on this coming holiday. Remember the temporary aspects, but on the other hand, go ahead and remember the permanent aspect. And just to give one manifestation of many, it took hours, maybe a day or two, to flush out every last terrorist, Yamach Shemam, from Israel a year ago. It took the Soviet Union months, if not years, to flush out the Nazis, Yamach Shemam, from the Soviet Union. It took far longer for invasions of the past to be a thing of the past. For the Jewish people, it was a temporary few days. Tragic few days, but temporary. So as we go into this Shmini Atzeret a year later, let's remember, there are many temporary things like the sukkah, but there's one permanent thing, and that is that the Jewish people are in Israel, in their Jewish homes, and they're here to stay. Wishing everyone a Chag Sameach and Besorot Tovot, Yeshuot V'Nechamot.